Okay, everybody, news has just broken that Tesla is able to build the Cybercab with steering wheel and pedals. If you're not familiar, Tesla is beginning the ramp of this Cybercab vehicle starting in the middle of next year, 2026. But on this channel, I've spent a lot of time in the last few months theorizing about this vehicle needing to have steering wheel and pedals to ensure that the factory wouldn't stay idle. And we got confirmation today from the chair of the board, Robin Delholm, basically the person that's in charge of all the executives and all the big money guys of the company, that Tesla is capable of selling this vehicle with steering wheel and pedals. Now, this has a lot of implications long term, but I want to read excerpts from the article just to get everybody caught up on what she said. Now, the title of the story is Tesla's Cybercab Backup Plan, Selling It with a Steering Wheel and Pedal. Tesla Inc. sees the forthcoming Cybercab as its long-promised, more affordable electric vehicle, and it's willing to make fundamental design changes to sell the car in high volumes. In short, it's willing to make it more like a normal vehicle that human drivers can control. Quote, if we have to have a steering wheel, it can have a steering wheel and pedals, Robin Denholm, the chair of Tesla's board of directors, told Bloomberg News in an interview on Tuesday, which is today. While some investors have been on board with the chief executive officer deciding early last year to prioritize bringing a completely autonomous vehicle to market, this being Elon Musk, others have been concerned about such a high-risk pursuit. The concern has been that the company will have trouble growing without a new EV position below its cheapest car, the Model 3. The risk is more about building a factory line that the Cybercab is going to be built on, this new on-box process, this next-generation way of building vehicles that is very likely going to sit idle unless Tesla decides to sell the vehicles through that line with a steering wheel and pedals. In the United States, there's right now regulations that cap how many cars can be built in the country without a steering wheel and pedal. That's set at 2,500 units per year. On top of that, places like Europe don't really have any regulations around a vehicle like that being sold without a steering wheel and pedal. China, Tesla has a lot of different challenges from a data perspective. Even though their system is extremely capable and the best one in the country, China still has a lot of controls around what Tesla can do. And so the total demand for a truly driverless vehicle without a steering wheel and pedal, unless regulations vastly change in the next 6 months or so, in theory, Tesla's not going to be able to sell nearly as many vehicles through that line as they would to try and make money on the car. The line that they're building to build a Cybercab is going to have around, let's say, 800,000 units per year of capacity. And if you can only sell 2,500 units per year, you have a lot of extra capacity that you need to capitalize on. And so the only way for you to be able to sell the additional capacity you have so that your line can make money is that you have to modify it so that you can sell those vehicles. Tesla is demand limited when it comes to cars without steering wheels and pedals because of regulation. But if they put a steering wheel and pedal in it, they can sell as many as they want through that line in theory. Because a vehicle like the Cybercab, in theory, Tesla is going to be able to sell at less than $30,000, which will put it below the Model 3 price. Now, if we continue on the article, Delholm clarified that this is what the Cybercab is, what many investors have colloquially referred to as the Model 2. Musk first unveiled the Cybercab on a movie studio lot near Los Angeles a year ago this month, weeks after showing off prototypes that lacked steering wheels and pedals. And the CEO bristled when asked when investors can expect Tesla to offer a cheap car that isn't intended to be used as a robotaxi. Having a regular $25,000 model is pointless, Musk said, referring to a price point he said Tesla would aim for at least as far back as 2020. It would be silly, like it would be completely at odds with what we believe. And of course, on this channel, I theorize that Elon has to say that. He can't say that there is a cheaper car coming out, because what that's going to do is that the Model 3, which they were planning to come out with cheaper trims, as we just saw released in the last few weeks, and the cheaper Model Y, and just those cars would get heavily cannibalized by a product that hasn't come out yet. That's called the Osborne effect. That's called Osborning. It's a very common thing where you have products, but then you're telling your customer base, we have a cheaper one coming, don't worry. Why would people buy those cars, right? So that's one part of it. The other part of it too is that Elon is known for using very, very strict requirements and very, very strict visions to force his teams to build a thing that has to be built. And so this kind of rhetoric is going to go both ways. In his head, I bet you in his head, Elon's like, we'll get it. We'll put the steering wheel and pedal when the time is right. But I'm not going to tell that to anybody. I'm not even going to tell it to my employees, because if they know that there's going to be a car with a steering wheel and pedal that's going to be on the same platform, they're not going to go as hard potentially to solve for autonomy, because that's a crutch, right? It's a crutch to have the steering wheel and pedal. But the inescapable reality is that cars are regulated by a very strict regime. The regulations for vehicles are very strict because these are road missiles that could potentially kill a lot of people. That's why we have driver licenses. That's why we have traffic laws. And that's why we have regulations around self-driving technology. Tesla's ability to solve for the technology is completely separate than the regulations catching up to Tesla. We're at a point now where Tesla is basically, I would say from my perspective, has solved the technology for self-driving vehicles at scale. They still have to go through the data to ensure it's safe enough and to ensure that it's giving them back the data they're looking for from a regulatory perspective so they can get it approved by regulators. But if you follow the technology very closely, I'm very confident in saying that Tesla has solved autonomy, if not is very close to it, no more than 12 months from my perspective. I could be wrong, and I don't want this to be investment or financial advice, but I think it's pretty obvious that that's where we are, at least in the United States. Now, if we keep going through the article, Delhomme's stated openness to modifying the Cybercab, which is scheduled for volume production next year, suggests an evolution within Tesla over the past year. Regulators have been reluctant to budge on certain long-standing safety standards, even despite Musk's lobbying Washington to do so. The US, for example, requires cars to be equipped with a steering wheel and pedals. Seeking exemptions from those rules can be a long and arduous process. The US National Highway Traffic Safety Administration didn't act for more than 2 years on General Motors' attempt to get authorization for its purpose-built autonomous vehicle, the Cruise Origin. GM ended up scrapping plans for the Origin last year before shutting down Cruise altogether. Even if Tesla were to overcome the hurdles that Cruise couldn't, NHTSA only allows manufacturers to deploy as many as 2,500 autonomous vehicles per year that lack traditional controls. That limitation would effectively render the Cybercab a niche product. There's a precedent for Tesla pivoting in this way, Delhomme said. The original Model Y was not going to have a steering wheel or pedals, she said. If we can't sell something because it needs something, then we'll work with regulators to work out what we need to do. And so, of course, now that this has become obvious, the next step that Tesla's going to take here in the coming 1 to 2 years, without really telling anybody, because it can't tell the public, hey, there's a cheaper car coming with a steering wheel and pedal, that's going to be in the form factor of a 2-seater or something very similar, is that they're going to build this line for a brand new vehicle that is going to be cheaper than a Model 3. Will probably start sub 30 if I were to guess, like 29,000, 29,900, or maybe 32,000 for the fully spec'd version, whatever that is, potentially. That is going to fully drive itself without you having to pay attention. That's the likeliest scenario we're going to have next year with this new vehicle and all the other new vehicles that Tesla is going to build. Because now you're going to have a situation where people, in theory, should be able to purchase a vehicle or finance a vehicle or lease a vehicle that's well under $400 a month, potentially even less with really aggressive leasing and really aggressive financing, that will be able to take them from point A to point B comfortably with good audio, good entertainment, without them having to pay attention at all. And so that's a very cheap asset to have that is super capable, especially relative to every other vehicle. Just look at any other car out there that costs $30,000 and ask yourself, are any of those vehicles capable of taking me from point A to point B without me having to pay attention, where I can just press a button and the car will take me to where I need to go? And the unsupervised equation of this thing, the FSD unsupervised equation of this thing, will be Tesla's huge selling point for the next couple years, really into the rest of the decade and in the next decade, is that technology. Now that is, from my perspective, essentially complete. What does that mean for Tesla's ability to sell more cars? And that's something we have to track very closely. And obviously, it's something that the public is going to want, right? Although I have a very hard time seeing a situation where the public wouldn't want a vehicle that will drive them anywhere they need to go while they're on their phone and is affordable. It's like a private chauffeur that's not in the car, that's safer than you are, can drive more comfortably than you can. And it's in a really nice package. It's private. It's comfortable. You got a screen. You got a nice sound system. You don't even have to worry about parking it. It just goes parks itself. Super cheap to run, obviously, right? And to everybody who was giving me a hard time about this on X and on YouTube with your cute little videos, I have a shirt for you. You can go to farzad.com, or you can click on the comment section or the description below, and you can buy yours right now. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was informative and helpful. And we'll see you in the next one. Take it easy, everybody. Bye-bye.